Welcome to the Edutaining History channel. Please let me know in the comments what you like or don't like on this video. This helps me to create better content in the future. If like it, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. If you don't like it, press the thumbs down twice, just to be sure. Recently, during a biblical discussion with a dear friend, we've noticed a map online, claiming to show all countries mentioned in the Bible. Similar maps have been circulating for years, often without proper citations or explanations. Before we delve into the fascinating world of biblical geography, it's important to establish a crucial point. The modern concept of nation-states, defined boundaries and political entities as we know them today, did not exist during the time the Bible was written. The historical and cultural context of the ancient world was vastly different, with territories and regions often defined by tribes, kingdoms, or empires rather than the fixed borders we are familiar with. What this means is that the references we find in biblical texts do not align neatly with our contemporary understanding of countries. Instead, they often point to general regions or areas within today's geographical boundaries. For this exploration, we are essentially identifying and discussing places that are mentioned in the Bible and mapping them onto the modern world. I'll be using the new Revised Standard Version for this exploration. This means certain texts considered apocryphal by some denominations might be included or excluded depending on your tradition. If you are interested, you find the exact Bible passages in the description below the video. Let's start our geographical journey in Europe, where several regions are mentioned in the New Testament. By the time of Jesus, Israel was under Roman control, and the early Christians utilized the empire's extensive Mediterranean trade networks to spread their message. Italy, particularly Rome, features prominently in the New Testament. There's even an entire book called Romans addressed to the Christian community there. Rome would eventually become central to Christianity's development as a world religion. Greece appears frequently, with letters addressed to communities in Corinth, Thessaly, and Philippi. The New Testament was primarily written in Greek, reflecting the language's importance in the early Christian world. Other European territories mentioned include Cyprus, Macedonia, parts of modern Greece and North Macedonia, and Dalmatia, modern Croatia, and parts of Bosnia and Herzegovina. There are references to Scythia, corresponding roughly to parts of Romania and Bulgaria. Spain appears in both Testaments, in the New Testament as Spanian, and possibly in the Old Testament as Tarshish, believed by some scholars to be Tartessos, a port city in southern Spain considered the edge of the known world. Now let's travel to Africa, which features more prominently in the Bible than many realize. Egypt plays a major role, particularly in the Exodus narrative, where it's portrayed as the oppressor of the Hebrew people. The biblical Hebrew name for Egypt is Mitzrayim, still used in Semitic languages today, while our English Egypt comes from the Greek Egyptos. Further south, we find Cush, corresponding to modern Sudan and South Sudan. This advanced African civilization had its own pyramids and writing system. Interestingly, according to the Book of Numbers, Moses had a Cushite wife, depicted in historical artwork as being of African descent. Ethiopia appears as Sheba in biblical texts. The famous Queen of Sheba, who visited King Solomon, features prominently in Ethiopian tradition, with the country's royal lineage traditionally traced back to their union. The Kingdom of Sheba likely encompassed territories in modern Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti, and possibly Yemen. Libya receives brief mention in the New Testament, completing our African nations referenced in Scripture. Moving to the Middle East, the geographical heart of biblical narratives, we find Israel mentioned most frequently, over 2,400 times in Hebrew alone. Various biblical names apply to this region, including Canaan, Samaria, Judah, Gaza, and Philistia, modern Palestine. Lebanon is one of the few countries whose ancient name persists in the Bible. It was renowned for its cedar trees reportedly used in Solomon's temple construction. The cedar remains Lebanon's national emblem, featured on its flag. Iraq corresponds to ancient Mesopotamia. As my 6th grade religion teacher, Mr. Klaus Postel, once told me, the word comes from the Greek mesos, which means middle or in between, and potamos, which means river. The land between two rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates. This region gave rise to the kingdoms of Assyria and Babylonia, both significant in Old Testament history. Many biblical texts were compiled during the Jewish exile in Babylon between 587–539 BCE. Jordan features prominently through the River Jordan, which marked boundaries between territories. This river holds special significance. Joshua crossed it to enter Canaan, and Jesus was baptized in it. The Moabites lived beyond the Jordan, though biblical writers weren't particularly fond of them. Syria and parts of Lebanon were known as Aram in biblical times. Turkey appears under various names including Cappadocia, Anatolia, Cilicia, Phrygia, and Pontus. In Acts it's simply called Asia, referring to the Roman province Asia Minor with its capital Pergamon, so parts of today's Turkey and Greece, not the continent. Armenia appears as Ararat, the mountainous region where Noah's Ark reportedly landed after the flood. Armenia later became the first state to officially adopt Christianity around 300 CE. Iran, historically known as Persia, receives positive treatment in the Bible for ending the Jewish exile. King Cyrus the Great is even given the title Messiah in Isaiah. The Book of Esther tells us the Persian Empire stretched from Cush to a province called Hodu, often translated as India. Speaking of India, King Solomon reportedly received shipments of gold, silver, ivory, and monkeys from a land called Ophir, which scholars believe may be in southern India or possibly Sri Lanka, although the geographical list in Genesis 10 apparently places Ophir in Arabia. These regions were known for their exotic goods and served as important trading ports. Ophir is often associated with the land of gold Punt, which is known from Egyptian sources. The existence of Ophir is confirmed by a clay jar found in Tel Qasil, now Tel Aviv, which dates back to the 8th century BC. Saudi Arabia appears as Midian, where Moses and the Hebrews spent part of their 40 years wandering the desert. Mount Sinai, where Moses received the Ten Commandments, may be located here according to some interpretations of Paul's writings in the New Testament. One interesting addition not commonly recognized is Morocco, which some scholars associate with the Put mentioned alongside Egypt and Libya in Ezekiel 35 and elsewhere. This North African region was known to ancient Mediterranean civilizations. What's fascinating about this geographical spread is how it reveals the interconnectedness of the ancient world. The biblical writers were aware of lands far beyond their immediate surroundings, from African kingdoms to Asian trading ports. This knowledge largely came through trade routes, as evidenced by references to exotic materials imported for Solomon's temple. When we map these references, we see a world more connected than we might imagine, a testament to human curiosity and commerce even in ancient times. Thank you for joining me on this biblical geography tour. If you enjoyed this exploration, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. What biblical location would you like to learn more about?